Welcome to the Redlining Podcast. It's the first one of 2023. And to my right, we have the gorgeously beautiful Richard Parker. Hi, Rich.
Hello, mate. A good break?
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad. It was very wet. I had 2 nice days of stunning hot weather and then shit. So we just came back to Auckland, got back into work, and now I'm regretting life. Now it's all good.
I decided to go on holiday during the cyclone.
Did you? Where'd you go?
To Matapuri.
Matapuri.
Yeah, State Highway 1 was closed, so the maps put me through the Waipu Caves area on the dirt roads while all the rocks were falling down and the whole area was flooding. It was great.
Lovely.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
It's an adventure when you go on holiday in New Zealand. Do not forget to like and subscribe and pass it on to all your friends. And what was the other thing you got to do? I always think. Anyway.
Comment.
It's good for the algorithm.
It is good.
And it makes us look good.
Yes.
In the hot seat today, we've got the one, the only, Kadyn Webster. Welcome, my friend.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
No
Good
worries.
to be here.
Good to see you. How's your break been?
Much the same as yours. We went down to Waihi Beach and leading up to New Year's was amazing. And then...
This dude's following me. We both live in Browns Bay and we both went to Waihi for New Year's.
Everyone follows you.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I smell. That's good. Whereabouts in Waihi Beach or Waihi?
Yeah, Waihi Beach. Yeah, my parents got a place there. And then we also rented just an Airbnb with like 10 of our mates and had a nice chilled one. Well, when I say chill, it was...
Nice.
It was chill compared to doing festivals.
Yeah.
So pushing into the rest of the summer, are you then now going to be gigging?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's starting to ramp up. Getting a few bookings, few that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Shipwrecked is obviously the next big one, which would be really cool. If you haven't been to Shipwrecked, it's amazing.
I have been to Shipwrecked. I've got a great memory of when you played in 2021.
Oh, really?
It was one of my favourite sets.
Oh, cheers, man.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I have to say that. You know,
Yeah.
Big fan of that set.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was fun.
Stage
it was awesome.
I was on the main
Main
stage.
stage,
Yeah.
This guy. Yeah.
You played just before Mel, didn't you?
Yeah.
Exactly, for
Yeah.
Hey Lady. Those 2 sets together,
Yeah.
that made my night. I was literally on the dance floor for like 4 hours. It was amazing.
Hey Lady's amazing as well. And
so
we
good.
were
So
that
good.
summer we were like pretty much just following each other around, playing like before and after each other. It was so cool. Like just to spend a good amount of time with her and that kind of crew was really cool. So yeah, Shipwrecked again should be good this year since we didn't get it last year.
Yeah. So, what would you say your ratio between producing and DJing is at the moment?
I would say 95 producing and 5% DJing.
Is that what you prefer?
I don't know. It's right now I'm loving it. Like it's so weird. Like I find myself when I go to DJ, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't downloaded any new music in like months and months, which is just crazy. When I was obviously coming up before I was sort of producing, obviously you're just downloading music constantly and just like trying to find the newer stuff to play. But now I'm so focused on producing that it's like it's almost done a turn. But yeah, I've just been loving just being at home and putting hours and hours into my own music. It's pretty rewarding.
So that's your full-time occupation?
No, I'm a project manager for a double glazing company.
Okay.
Well, so if you need some windows, just I'll give you my card after this.
You need some windows and some bass.
Yeah. Any sound reduction, any producers out there? I've got
That's a
sound
quite handy thing
glass.
to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how much of these windows can I reverberate?
Yeah, exactly. Nice and warm, make your studio nice and warm. So I do that full time, and then pretty much every day after work, like at least sort of 4 to 5 hours of production, if I can, most weekends as well. Obviously that's the end goal would be to be able to, drop the double glazing and start producing and doing music full time. That would be ideal.
Do you have aspirations of going abroad and playing?
Yeah, for sure. So me and my partner are actually exploring the idea of moving to Ireland next year.
Oh, okay.
It's got a great techno scene, and because I've already done the England visa, I can't actually get that one again without sort of getting some sort of sponsorship deal. So Ireland's sort of like the next sort of best spot that would be close to the UK and has a great techno scene and a great like underground scene. So I feel like being right there would be quite cool. So yeah, potentially looking at making the move again.
Yeah, Europe's the place to be for techno though.
100%, yeah. Actually, and Melbourne as well. Melbourne's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melbourne's got a great scene at the moment. Yeah, it's the thing that we kind of wanting, like we kind of want to feel like we're away from home, whereas Melbourne feels still quite close to home, even though it's a great scene over there. We kind of just feel like if we're going to go live somewhere again, like we want to get a full culture shock, not just New Zealand Aussies.
So why techno? Who were your inspirations when you were growing up?
It's so weird. I like when I first started listening to electronic music in general, it was guys like my brothers were really into like Ministry of Sound and like Deadmau5 and Fede Legrand and like all that kind of almost EDM style. And I fell in love with Deadmau5. Like I just, for some reason, he just connected with me, and I'm still of the opinion that Strobe's probably the best musical piece that's ever been made. Like the 10-minute version, the long intro, like I still listen to that every day, like almost every week of my life, and like get goosebumps. It's crazy. So
I was kind of hoping you were going to say, I watched the first 10 minutes of Blade.
Oh my God, that's actually another one.
Eh?
That's so good. I actually watched that recently and with my partner, and like I was just like, every track that's in there, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. So yeah, listening to like Ministry of Sound and then Deadmau5, and then I kind of morphed from there to when I went to live in the UK. I lived there when I was 18. I moved when I was 18 for 2 years. And there was quite a lot of like a good scene down where I was living in Newquay, and because I was working in a bar initially there, you kind of got mates with the DJ and stuff like that, and you're kind of like whatever he played, you had to listen to, and he was playing a lot of like Detroit techno, like Jeff Mills and Derek May and sort of like the early on guys, Kevin Saunderson and stuff like that, and that kind of really caught my ear for like I don't know why, it just seemed to resonate with me. And then I kind of came back to New Zealand and wanted to start getting into DJing a little bit more. And at that time, it was dubstep and trap was huge here. And so to get into the scene, I kind of had to just like grit my teeth and sort of play that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still liked it, but it wasn't sort of where I wanted to be. And so, then pretty much from the early on days, it was Carl Cox, Kevin Saunderson, Jeff Mills, and sort of that kind of sound. And I just initially had to get into DJing other stuff just to get into the scene, and then I could finally sort of actually shape what I wanted to do and actually think about this as more of a career rather than just I just want to play out on a Saturday night.
So, sorry, mate. So as far as sort of playing techno in New Zealand, you say it wasn't really available, so you had to kind of wait for it to come into the foreground. Who were the main players that brought techno to New Zealand?
Well, I don't know if it was me just being in the wrong circles and maybe being of a younger generation and not knowing the right people, because I'm assuming that it was always here. I mean, like Hey Lady, Cam Harris, Logan Baker, like all of these sort of older, bigger players, Matt Drake, they were always there, but I just didn't have access, whereas the people that I knew were all throwing parties with the younger generation, which was the popular like dubstep, trap, and maybe a little bit of EDM and like deep house and stuff like that. So I actually don't know who brought it over here. I'm assuming there's always probably been a scene, but growing up where I was and in that sort of little scene that I was in, it just wasn't accessible really, and it didn't really take off until sort of I reckon probably about 3 or 4 years into my DJing career or producing and being an artist. Yeah. So
what platforms do you use to put your music out?
So everything gets uploaded to Spotify, but mainly now I always try and use Bandcamp, because Bandcamp is direct money to the artist rather than getting shaved off by all the... I mean, Bandcamp still take a cut, but it's nowhere near as much as what Beatport and iTunes and all of that does.
Bandcamp gets a shave, whereas you get a shave if you're using
Spotify. Yeah, exactly. And then Bandcamp also do this thing, so it's called Bandcamp Fridays, where I think it's maybe once a month or once every 2 months, they go 100% of the earnings go directly to the artist. So if you, on that Friday, if anyone buys your track, you get all the money, which is really cool. So it's more for the artist rather than, Spotify, you make, I think, 0.07 cents for every stream or something like that.
That's crazy, yeah.
It's insane, yeah. So you really have to be cracking over 1 million streams to be starting to make any decent money from Spotify. And when you're making underground music, you don't get pushed by Spotify or by big players. So getting your music heard becomes harder than, actually just like making a pop tune with vocals, because if it's got vocals in it, Spotify push it. Yeah, so the algorithms are really, really hard to deal with when you're making underground music. If you're just making instrumentals like techno or, minimal house or anything like that, unless you're a big artist or with a big following already, Spotify really, really don't push you unless you've got some sort of vocal on it that people can sort of catch to it. It's really weird. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
There's a lot of independent, like not just electronic music, but classical music and all that sort of thing. They'd be struggling as well.
100%. Yeah, if you're a new artist, it's really hard. So you can do this thing. So like when you're uploading a song to Spotify, they let you pitch it to them. So they'll pitch to all their curators. They've got artist curators and playlist curators and things like that. And so you pitch your track to, or whatever you think, if it's an EP or an album, whatever you think is going to be the best one, you pitch it to them, you describe it, you put it in like a genre, you sort of show them, and they decide whether they push you or not, sort of thing.
Yep.
So it's pretty difficult sometimes. Yeah. Can be good sometimes, but it can be difficult as well.
I guess you have to keep plugging away, right?
That's it, yeah. And also, like, I think Spotify is, it's a little bit different. I'm not sure too many people are tuning into Spotify just to listen to straight techno as well. So I think there's a certain type of artist or avenue that people want to go down, and if you want to go down that road, like that's amazing. I got caught up in it when I first started producing and putting out music. I was like, oh man, I need to make sure it's gonna be this, and then nowadays as well, like the duration of the track comes into play almost, because people have got shorter attention spans. So it's like,
is that a thing for music as well, you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, all radio tracks now they've always been short, but you're sort of looking at that 2 minutes 45, right, whereas the standard techno track's like 6 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So like you almost have to make a radio edit or something like that, if you're of like just the main crux of it, the biggest impact potentially of the track. So I think it's I got caught up in it when I first started producing and started making just so worried about my Spotify numbers and people being like, oh look, there's he's only got 1,000 streams or this and that, and then you start to fight your ego a little bit and say that it's actually not that important. You can make it still as an underground DJ and not be on Spotify, or like not have the numbers there. So I think there's a lot more to it than just the numbers. Plus people just self-stream their own stuff anyway, so
that's fair enough. When it comes to producing, where do you get your inspirations from?
Mainly festivals and like being out and like hearing new stuff. Like it's
so your sound's kind of a peak time sound. Would you class it like that?
I would say so.
I hate the multi-genres of techno, like the peak time, the raw, and
exactly.
It does kind of pigeonhole you a little bit, because 100%. Techno's a lot deeper and all that, right?
I produce all sorts of stuff as well. Like I'm not just producing techno. Like I put out a whole breakbeat album last year with 7 tracks of basically breakbeat. I'm working on a house EP at the moment. It's like, when I say house, it's a lot more harder. Like it's not your standard sort of 124 BPM. It's up in the 135 BPM, so quite fast and like ravey house, which still can kind of cross over with techno, which is quite kind of like what I like. And people like a little bit of range in the set as well, not just sort of sticking to the one boom boom boom
showmanship.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you play out, do you find yourself mixing genres, or do you stick? I guess it depends where and what time you're playing, but
it does. I mean, most of the time now I've got to the level where I'm playing the set time that I want to be playing. Like I'm not playing opening anymore, unless I'm playing for like a huge big artist or something like that, who's international artists take supreme, obviously, of the peak time set. So right now I can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to be playing sort of midnight or after. So I know sort of what I'm going to be playing in terms of having a wide list of playlists, you know, and a wide list of genres. But I would say mainly techno and breakbeat, because they seem to work quite well together. And then I'd say like a little bit of house and stuff like that. But
it's funny you say breakbeat, and I'll go back to that set at Shipwreck, because it's really got a big print in my mind. Is that like halfway through that set, I don't know if you remember, you did break into this massive breakbeat thing. And I was like, this is weird. This is interesting.
Yeah.
So was that a planned thing, or
no?
You just thought, wow, this crowd's up for it. I'm going to try this and see what happens.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like, I think it just might work. Yep. Like that was left field, that one, because it was a very drivey techno set.
Yes.
And then I think it was coming out, I remember it was coming out of like quite a euphoric techno track, and then I kind of went into a real switch up of like complete, almost off tempo from what everyone's so used to dancing to.
Do you get this? Did you, before you did that, did you have this thing where you look down and you think, I'm gonna try something different, but fuck me if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know? And
even when I did it, I was like, are they getting it? Like, are they okay? I'm like, are they all right out there? Is everything all right out there? And it was funnily enough, it was like one of the ones that most people took videos of and sent it to me and asked for the track ID.
Oh, right, there you go.
Which was so cool. That was like, okay, cool, that worked. But yeah, there's definitely nerves when you're looking down and you haven't practiced it, or like, you know, you're kind of just like, I'm going to give this a go and hopefully it works. But I think that's the beauty of DJing as well. Like you can try, and like, I think it's just so like, it's all about the journey. Yep. Like you don't have to be perfect. You can just take people on this like amazing ride, and sometimes it might not be good, but sometimes it can be amazing. And that's
I think most people will trust the DJ that they want to see.
You
know, and also they want to be challenged, right? They don't want to listen to the same shit for like 90 minutes to 2 hours. You know, they want to hear a set that's been mixed up.
I can imagine techno could get pretty same.
It can be. It can be just constant bass, you know. But if it's mixed up and mixed in the right way, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it can honestly get quite stagnant. And I think that's like where I really want to be different in that sense. Yeah. And different there's so many different styles of techno as well, which is like, you know, there's even this new wave of sort of, it's like becoming rave again. It's like the 90s synths that are all coming back, the big like wide drums and like almost breaky drums.
Unlimited's coming back, man.
Wow. don't get excited. I don't think so. Yeah. Although Daryl's pleased to hear the Venga Boys are coming in a couple of months.
Shit, yeah.
Are they actually coming?
I think they are, yes. Yeah, I think they are.
That would be...
And they're bringing the Venga bus, apparently.
No way.
Shit. Sorry.
That would actually be awesome. Yeah. That would be a fun gig. Like, it actually would be real fun.
Yeah. Any of that stuff that comes back, eh?
Well,
who's coming, like... What was that thing you sent me the link to the other day?
I didn't send you a link to it. Yeah, it wasn't me.
Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill and Ice Cube.
Even in the 90s, I wasn't in there.
See, I'd love that.
I used to listen to Ice Cube.
I'm a big hip hop fan as well. Yeah. I'm actually more I listened to hip hop before I even started with dance music. Like hip hop was everything for me. Yeah, and still like I still listen to like certain artists. I mean, it's gone a little bit downhill, but certain artists like I went to see Kendrick Lamar in December, and he's like my favorite rapper, and he was just amazing, like just so incredible. The whole show of the whole thing is just like, it was epic. Yeah, he's so good.
Going back to performing live, it sounds like it's similar to a comedian. Do you have bomb sets? Have you bombed? Like just gone up there, put on some stuff, tried some things, and just gone.
Come on, be honest.
Come on.
Yeah, I have. Mainly when I've had too many drinks, I would say, like, and that's not to like blame it on the alcohol, but like there was one where it was really bad, almost to the point where I got removed. Yeah. Okay. It was when I took over from the last DJ, he left the CDJ on reverse, which I don't even know why. Maybe it was an effect thing or something like that he did.
Yeah.
And I put the headphones on, press play on mine, and I'm thinking that it's coming out through the speakers, but
Right.
because it's on reverse, nothing's playing, and so the whole crowd's just stopped.
What?
And I'm like
God.
going like this, and people are tapping me on the shoulders because I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
So I take my headphones off, and there's nothing. And I'm just like panic stations, like, oh shit, fuck, what am I gonna do? Like start pressing buttons, and then they're like, are you alright? Like, do you need to go? Luckily that was early on, like when I was doing dubstep and stuff like that. So like,
I'm surprised anyone noticed the difference.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're probably like, this is better. There's no music at all. Nah, I've still got a soft spot for dubstep, but yeah, it's like I don't get like that anymore. And that was early on, like when I was younger and just like didn't, I don't know, just young, wild and free. And now I take it more seriously because I feel like I have a bit more of a duty to like, you know, do it if people are paying good money. Like I feel like they deserve a good night out, and so. I'm quite professional in that sense, where I feel like I'm an artist now. I'm producing music. There should be like a level of professionalism that I should uphold, you know, when I'm doing these sets or compiling these sets for people.
One thing I'd say, you always look like you're enjoying yourself when you're playing.
Yeah.
Which
I love it.
is part of it, right? I mean, if you can't enjoy DJing, then you know what's the point in doing it?
Yeah. Man, I see some people. Sorry, I see some people just standing there, like, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, like some people just don't. They don't
blink twice if you need help.
I'm like, they're just no dancing, no moving. Like, I'm like,
oh no, it's the best.
Is that all right? I'm like, I can't help it.
No, exactly, because you're into the music, you're into the vibe, right? You know?
And do you dabble with visuals like VDJing and all that sort of stuff? VJ?
Yeah, so I don't, but I have visuals made for me now. I actually just got some new ones made in December, and I'm so stoked with them. I kind of went for that like 90s sort of Detroit city vibe. So like it's got my name like written in graffiti, and then it's like a drive through like Detroit city, and it's really like fast and sped up and like little things like popping up and stuff. So yeah, I love it. I love that stuff. Seth Troxler's actually got one of the coolest visuals I've seen. Just like it's literally just like a silhouette of just this female just dancing like behind him, and it's just like you just kind of like can't help but be like, whoa.
Well,
really
sometimes
cool.
like the visuals are really mesmerizing. Like if the music's good and the visuals are good, you just get engrossed in it.
It's like the Windows 95 screensaver. It used to get me every time. I could stare at that thing for hours.
That's actually a good idea. Like we should put that. You should just put that up and have the buffering and like
people our age will be like, yes.
Well, you could incorporate, you know, the old internet noise as well.
That
as well, when you're doing it. Maybe some are.
Sure, someone's done that.
Yeah, they must have done. Yeah.
And then it's like bum 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 when it's like faulting or something like that. Yeah.
That's one of the things I always remember when you go to a Fatboy Slim concert. Music is only half of it.
Yeah.
Visuals he's doing now are insane.
Are you guys going?
Hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going.
Nice.
You got a ticket?
Yeah.
So the Domain.
Yeah. Well,
nice.
Oh, it's the Domain now, isn't it?
There's there's a Waiheke show as well.
Yeah, I'm aiming for that.
Yeah.
I know people.
Nice. Yeah, I know people as well, I think, because it's sold out. I know.
It's sold out quick.
I know people there.
Yeah. Because I found out about it before it was announced, and I was like, sweet. And then it got announced, I was like, they won't sell it.
Right. Yeah.
Fucking like 4 days.
Because it's on a school night, Isn't it?
Tuesday.
It is, yeah.
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
Yep. Oh, naughty. Naughty school night.
That'd be mean.
It'd be so good. It'd be so good.
How many people are going to that? Like,
oh, it's
300,
isn't it?
Something more intimate,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah. Sometimes those are the best shows.
Yeah.
Like the intimate ones are just like without having the big stadiums and the big festivals.
Going back to visuals, have you seen like the 3D visuals that are sort of happening at the moment? I watched Carl Cox's Pure show last year, and some of the visuals that are coming out of there, it's almost like the visuals are coming across from outside, from behind the DJ. It's just really immersive.
Yeah, I think Eric Prydz was the first one to do that. His Hollow show. I don't know if you guys have seen that, and it's like a full hologram above the crowd, and it's like full 3D, and it's amazing. Like I'd love to see that as well. Deadmau5 was another one who sort of focused really big on visuals. He had that like big cube or whatever. And then he would play like right at the top of the cube. I think it's becoming more important. It's funny because like what I love about Shipwrecked and like a few of these like smaller boutique festivals is they don't have any of that. Like there is no visuals. It's like, it's more just like they dress the stages how they want to dress them, and then it's just literally the music and the DJ and then like the people, obviously.
Well, I think the cool thing about that is that it's the environment is a complete escapism.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's it. You're in this kind of play area, where you don't need like the electronic visuals, because like all the organic stuff's just pretty cool anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually it's so true. I actually played Nest. Have you heard of Nest Fest in Hawke's Bay?
Yes. Yep.
I played that last year, and I played on the Techno stage, and it was literally just a warehouse, and then all it was a light basically just like shining straight down, just creating like a triangle over the DJ, and that was all it was, just a white light. So you kind of just looked like.
Was that intimidating?
Silhouetted a little bit, because you're just lit up, and like the rest of the stage is dark.
And you can't see shit out there,
you
right?
Can't. I could hardly see. I mean, I played sort of around 8 p.m, so it was still quite light, but because of the warehouse, it was quite dark in there anyway. But that was cool, because the way it looked from when you were in the crowd, just looking up, and it was just like a triangle like going down. That looked really cool and super simple. You know, you didn't know like LEDs or nothing like that. It was just
Did it strobe, or was that too much?
Nah, thank God it didn't strobe. Jeez, sometimes they kill me. I'm just like, I can't even see what I'm doing. Yeah, they're pretty hectic.
So obviously Redlining does have a theme about, well, not a theme, but we reflect on the pandemic and how people sort of managed to cope through it, and when it comes to music and not being able to play out. How was the last 2 years for you? I guess you sort of found more time to produce rather than play out?
Yeah, it was. It's so weird thinking back on it now. I think back and I'm like, man, it's just like time stood still for 2 years. It was selfishly good for me, because I was able to be able to be a full-time producer for those lockdown weeks. Obviously, when I think, away from myself, empathetically and empathize with everyone that got affected by it. And I was lucky enough that I was secure in my job, and I didn't rely purely on gigs and things like that. So I was able to financially be okay and be in a space where I could just put all of my thoughts into music.
You provide two things: glazing and music. Wow, this guy's killing the job.
So yeah, for me it was still hard, because I felt anxious for my friends and family and just during that period in general. Like I hated the whole separation thing. I hated I just didn't like what it brought out in people. And it's just so weird. It's just thinking back now, I'm like, man, we're so not ready for that. You know what I mean?
We're not made for that.
No, we're not.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
We're not made for that at all.
Exactly.
And what's kind of frustrating, I'm finding, is that it's still carrying on.
Yeah,
it created sort of a bipolarity in our society.
Yeah.
And it's still carrying on a little bit.
Yeah.
And Auckland, especially in the big cities like Auckland and that.
Yeah.
So hopefully it brushes over pretty soon.
Yeah.
But this is where the music's so important. Every gig that I've been to, there was a couple during lockdown in that little period in the middle there, and then there's a few now, and it's just you go and it's just like, this is what it's about. You know what I mean? We need people. We need to be entertained.
Exactly. Yeah. We just need to be normality. Of being able to be free and just do what we want and stuff like that. And I can understand. It's so weird, because I can understand so many different sides of the story, and I'm so just like, I just want to be right here in the middle, of all the chaos. But looking back at it now, I'm obviously just so happy that it seems like we're moving forward from it. And I've heard of people, losing friendships and things over it and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh man, life's too short for things like that. You can have disagreements and still be friends. Like one of my friends, we had a disagreement over it. But you can move on so quickly. And I hated that it kind of kept ramping up stuff in our brains. And there was a point where I was really, really badly anxious, to the point where I couldn't seem to shake it for 2 weeks. I just felt horrible for other people. And and I felt like, you know, it was really hard to even express myself through music. I found my ideas started going flat. I wasn't going into music festivals or going out and seeing anyone, you know, so everything kind of just sit still, and I found it really, really hard to produce and things like that. So
I drank. How did you cope?
Yeah, I drank as well. So bad. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, it was it's weird just thinking back to it now, and I can't, like, when people are like, oh yeah, remember like that was when we were in lockdown. I was like, what was that when we were in lockdown?
Oh, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like we were just talking earlier on about something that I did in 2020, and I was like, that was fucking 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
I think everyone's just put it to the back of their minds, you know.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was a shitty time for everybody. New Zealand, I mean, New Zealand had a people turn, like we interviewed Moose T last week, and he turned around to us and he said, you know, New Zealand did it right, you know, because we had periods, but I'm not overly sure that's an advantage. Yes, it was great to have these periods of freedom, but we were going up and down, peaks and troughs, and that really does mess with your head.
When he said that, I really wanted to ask him, in what way? What way did we do it right?
I think people from abroad perceive New Zealand as a country that were probably got the best out of the pandemic.
I think they did for the first half of the pandemic, and in the second half it's like,
I was just going to say that. So I think initially, that initial reaction, we nailed it, because we managed to we seemed to manage to keep it out. And we were the only country in the world in 2020, 2021, like the end of 2020 and 2021, that were open and not open with the borders, but we were having music and stuff. Like that was when I played R&B, I played Shipwrecked and all of these other amazing gigs, and it seemed like, oh my God, like we're the only country that's doing this. This is incredible. And then slowly the world caught up, and then
overtook us.
And then the second wave or the third, whatever wave it is, came back in, and that seemed to be where we tried to implement the first technique again, but it didn't work, and then it dragged. And I think so initially, I think maybe what Moose T was talking about was that initial way we handled it, but it didn't. It just the second, the way we handled the second part, I don't think it was a good idea.
I think the main problem is that when you have peaks and troughs, and it's like anything, you know, you start off with a low, and then you go up to a high, and there's only one way down to go to a low again, and it absolutely messes with your mental health.
100%.
And I think that's what a lot of people are suffering from. Where if you're on a constant, your restriction. I'm not saying I wanted that. I'm just saying that you know, we had it different to a lot of people around the world, and I don't think they kind of understand that. Yes, we were affected as well. You know. Yeah.
The other thing is, like, was there a perfect way to handle it?
No.
You know what I mean? And like, what if we did what everyone else did it, and then it's so hard. It's hindsight is 2020, right? So it's so easy to be like, sit here now and be like, we handled it terribly, when maybe we did everything right. I'm not saying we did, but I'm just saying, like, it's so hard.
I don't think it's about how we handled it. I think it's just about realizing it, that actually, you know, we have gone through something, whatever way we went through it, you know, even though it was different to the rest of the world, we have still gone through something, and, you know, we need to be aware, and we need to, you know, reflect on that, and then, you know, come past it.
I think we learned a lot about people, though. Like, I think one of the things, you're right, who'd want to be a politician in that period, right? You've got to make some tough decisions. But wow, we could have done with some empathy. We could have done with a little bit of, like, you know, pick it up by the bootstraps and all that. But instead, we just got
two shots for summer.
2 shots for summer, and treated like children.
Like 2 shits for summer.
2 shits for summer. It was bizarre. And then that created, like, legitimately, we were told that we had to bully people into getting vaccinated. Otherwise, you know, and it felt weird. It felt so unusual and cynical, and everything all rolled into one. I know other countries did that as well, but not in the way that I think that we did it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to sort of like gain a good perspective on what other people, like other countries, did without actually being there. Because I know Canada was super strict as well, right? I think in terms of like getting people to get vaccinated, and I was like, it was so weird because initially I was so, you know, pro-vax and all of that, and by the end of it I was like, you know what, like, do whatever you want. Like, it's not. I was never like, oh, you know, every single person should do that. I was like, you know, it is what it is, and we just have to like be empathetic with everyone, and just started, and like you say with that 2 shots for summer, like it started becoming like a joke by the end of it, you know. And
what they had a Vaxathon, remember that? What the fuck? That was so weird.
I like the fact
it's such a Kiwi thing to do. Oh bless, have a Vaxathon.
Well, they were giving out free ice creams for vaccinations for kids, and I was like, what Dude,
you know the one that got me? You know the one that got me? COVID kills people who are overweight and diabetic, right? And in the Polynesian community, and this got me, in the Polynesian community, if you went and got your shots, they were giving away KFC.
Of course
what
they were.
The actual fuck? What is that all about?
Jeez.
You know, I you know, I'm part Polynesian, right? And I took part of that on. I was like, what in the what are you doing? It was weird.
Yeah.
It was just some strange things.
So what did you get in your bargain bucket?
Oh, dude, tell you what, I got to see this quarterback.
Wicked wings.
I wasn't going to get a shot, and I was bored. I was hungry. Like, shit, I need a feed.
Did you get the double down or whatever it's called?
Double down. I miss double downs.
Yeah.
I do like KFC, but it was just a strange way of doing it.
It's just weird to think back to it now, because it's seemingly, especially for me, like it seems to be over, and maybe that's like me being a little bit naive to the fact that other people were still suffering, and I never, you know, I think mental health is like, that's first and foremost what we should be focusing on, and New Zealand already struggles with mental health, and that certainly made my mental health worse, like going through that period as well, just from the chaos of it all. It was just nuts. Like there
was no respite from it. It was just constant. You're right, talking before about the anxiety, right? We all got anxious, and then when we first went into lockdown back in the day, it was like, oh, this is new. This is like a forced holiday. And then by 2 years later, it was like, okay, the fucking novelty is over. This is done. You know, and it was the last bit at the beginning of last year for me, and I was just so like, this is depression. Like properly, and I was just like, I don't know.
See, this is the difference, right? Here's the difference. This is the difference between people who don't have kids, who go, oh, lockdown, I'm going to go and watch Netflix. With people who have kids, oh, fucking hell, I've got to spend my time with my kids. Jesus, this can't be happening.
I am so sorry for you.
I love my kids. I do.
So
we're talking about mental health. So you have created something called Understanding Emotions. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Understanding Emotions, like initially I created that, I think it was back in 2019. It was definitely before the pandemic. And initially I was just like, how can I use music to help people? I went through mental health. I went through depression when my partner committed suicide when I was a bit younger. And that completely obviously like ruined me for about 1.5 years or something like that. And I had to see psychologists and everything. And then I came out of it, luckily enough, and got back to being my normal self and feeling good again. And then after I got into DJing and producing, I was like, man, how can we, like, music is so healing. Like, and that was one of the biggest factors for me getting through my depression about Amelia, was just listening to music. I'd listen to music all day long, and it would either, you know, it makes you feel things, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, how can I use music to, you know, help people with mental health? And then I came up with the idea of making like an hour-long mix and incorporating people's talks or TED Talks about depression and mental health, telling their story, or professional psychologists and sort of talking about how they think you should get out of it and things like that. And then I just sample it and chop it up and put it throughout the mix, so it incorporates the whole story with music that takes you on the journey of sort of what I think it should sound like. So yeah, it's quite a cool way to reach people, and a cool way for people to like sort of shut off and not have to feel like they're like encouraged to. Because it's daunting when people say, oh, you know, like, you can always talk to me. And I went through it because always people would say, you know, like, that's what I do now when people, I'm like, I'm always here for you. But sometimes you just want to shut everything off and listen to music and hear somebody else talk through about their story. And I just thought it was such a good way of, you know, because podcasts, or people can sit down for an hour, put their headphones on, or they can go in their car and put the music on and literally just drive or just lay there and listen to somebody else tell their story with music that goes along with it. And just the way that music tugs on all emotional strings, I just thought it was a really cool way of getting a point across, but not having to be you don't feel like you have to do anything. If you're suffering, you just put your headphones on and away we go, sort of thing. So yeah, it was really cool. I'm still doing it. It just, I had to take a bit of a break from it because, I mean, firstly, they take a lot out of me as well, because when I'm writing them, it correlates with a lot of stuff that's going on in my life, brings up old memories and things like that. So it's not just a standard fun mix that I can put out there, and when I'm putting them out, I'm essentially putting myself out there as well. So I did take a bit of a break, but I will be picking that back up, which there will be an announcement soon on that. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So do you have you had any feedback from anyone who's sort of listened to them? Or?
Tons. That was the craziest thing. I didn't realize how much it would, like, people would message me being like, oh my God, I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Like, this helps me so much, like telling me their stories and things like that. It's like, it was amazing. Like, it was really, really amazing. I kind of just did it because I was like, this is kind of cool for me. And, you know, hopefully if one person listens to it, they'll like it as well. And then George FM ended up picking it up, and I played, I think it was, I don't know if you know Stu Tolan. He was from George FM. So he was the one, firstly, Sin from George, Sin Howard, yeah. She's one of my best mates. She ended up playing it on the Sunday morning, and then Stu heard it because he was on George FM Breakfast, and then he just happened to hear it and was like, oh, you need to come and do that on George Breakfast. Yep. And then when I played it on George Breakfast, it was just like, the feedback was just like amazing. Yep. So it was really, really cool.
When was that?
That was back in 2019. That was
really?
ages ago. Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, and then I had a regular spot monthly on George every Sunday at like 6 p.m. So I think I've done about 16 episodes of it.
And this is all the quote unquote wellness type stuff.
Yeah. Everything was directed all for mental health and things like that. And then I kind of just, through the pandemic, literally, I think the last one was like 2020, mid-pandemic, like mid-lockdown. Yep. And I made it more fun because people were hurting. So I was like, I need to make this one not so daunting, because otherwise people were already
more
like
inspirational
hurting.
rather than
exactly.
relating.
Yeah. So and then I just had to take a break just for my own sort of mental health, and just to make sure that I was doing okay, and I was focusing a lot on producing and things like that at that point as well. And again, like the pandemic, we were going up and down, and I just didn't feel like I was up to it, and I didn't feel like I was in the right headspace to essentially, you know, practice what I preach.
Sure.
So
who do you use? What samples were you using?
So I was using
Tim Robbins. I'm kidding.
mainly TED Talks, and then honestly, like, just go onto YouTube, find a really cool talk, and or if I heard like a cool snippet of something like that, then I would use that. Initially it started out from like a whole bunch of different motivational stuff, like different speakers, and I would put that through. And then I found that using like one continuous talk was just so much more impactful, because it was like, it wasn't just a snippet from, you know, Jim Carrey, or like, I wouldn't use that, but a snippet from him here, then like somebody else here, and then somebody else there. It was cool, but it just didn't have the same effect as like one person telling their whole story. So, in one of the episodes, she's not like famous or anything like that. It's this woman from Sweden, and she's literally just telling her story about how she got through mental health, and it's like 12 minutes long, and I just chopped it up to fit within the hour. So they come in and come out and breakdowns of the tracks and sort of when it ramps up and things like that. So
do you ever incorporate anything like that in your DJ sets? Like sometimes when you hear some DJ mixes and you know, you've got a nice little intro that's sort of tells a little bit of a story for the first 3 or 4 minutes. Have you ever tried incorporating anything?
I haven't. I've always wanted to do like an understanding emotions show, of where it was like directed for that. With like techno and stuff like that, you kind of, I mean, I've done like, I make my own intros and stuff for techno, like where it's like, sometimes there'll be like a weird, like, you know, intro talking about, you know, like, I'm going to take you on a journey or something like that. You know, it's not really, it's not like, you know.
There was this DJ who's like kicking off. Yeah.
Get ready for the best party. No, it's just like, yeah. So, I've never done something like that, but I've always wanted to do like some sort of understanding emotion show where obviously all the proceeds just go to mental health. Sort of like, I don't know if you guys been to Morning People. Have you heard of Morning People?
Not yet. No. Yes.
Oh, is it that morning rave?
It's like a morning rave.
Oh,
Yeah. And it's just completely sober. You know, they serve like kombucha and coffee and bananas and apples and stuff like that. And they start at like 6:30 in the morning. I feel like that's like something along those lines with understanding emotions, where it's like a sober like dance, but it's also like a show. Like a.
So you've played that, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of music did you play for that?
I play techno.
Oh, really? Yeah. People, you know, they've got their espressos and they're ready to,
mate,
you know,
I was
go for
stressing.
it.
When I got booked, I like had to message Jamie and I was like, do you know what I play? Like, do you know like what I'm going to do? Yeah. And he was like, just go hard. Like it's your thing, you know, like, and I was like, okay, cool. I didn't play like as hard as I normally would, of course. Like, and I started out with like house, and like kind of fun, like uplifting house like that. And then like I played techno throughout, but I also played like a lot of classics. Like I played like Mr. Oizo Flat Beat. And because it's a lot of like the age range is crazy at those parties as well. Like it's literally from like 55 down to 18 or like, you know. So, and there was even like a lady there who had her kids just in the corner like while she was raving, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
I should do that.
Honestly, I couldn't believe it. It was one of the best parties I've ever played in my life.
Oh shit!
And it was like so weird driving into Auckland City at like 5:30 in the morning, being like,
dicks are in the back.
I'm usually on the way home, like in a taxi.
Yeah. It's probably because on the front row you don't see a row of people gurning at you,
chewing their faces.
Honestly, and the reactions were like better because you're not, sometimes especially because if I'm playing a late set like 2 a.m. or something, there's zombies by that point. You know what I mean? Like there's no, like you play something that you're like, this is gonna get, and nothing, you know, they're just saying it, they're just kind of they're just making up the numbers. So like for me to play like a party like that, it was wild.
How long do they go for?
An hour and a half. Yeah, so it's an hour and a half set. Yeah, so 6:30 till 8.
Cardio, then go to the gym, have a pump, and then
So everyone comes in the exercise gear. Like all these people who work just in the office and things like that.
Bonds on me, go on.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's like, it was wild. And I was more nervous to play that set than I'd been pretty much for like most of my sets, because everyone's sober. So like if you fuck up, you're like, you're gonna, like, people are gonna notice. So I was more like, and because I had a coffee beforehand, so I'm like getting the coffee jitters, and I'm like, oh no, like, I can't.
You know what though? Probably people who are going probably think the same thing. I'm sober. This is gonna suck. You know what I mean? And it's not until they get into the music and
and it takes a little while for like the start to get going, because like people kind of wander in and you're kind of like looking around and you're like, oh, is anyone else gonna start dancing? There's this little period, and then everyone kind of gets into it, and then obviously
it's a hark back to the classic school disco when you were 16 years old and you went to the disco and you're like looking around going,
light disco.
No one else is dancing, I'm just going to bop, and then it takes some brave soul to go into the middle and start going for it.
100%.
And everyone like comes in.
Takes a double shot of coffee and I'm in there.
Exactly.
Oh, what she's having?
Somebody's had like a V or something, and it's like, oh, I'm in there. Yeah.
What days do they have that? What is a weekday thing?
I think it's like maybe once a month, and it's usually on a Wednesday. They kind of keep it special like that as well, which is cool. And they have them all over. So it's I played at AV Club in downtown, but they have them at I think they've had them like in Silo Park, like on the wharf there.
Oh
like an outdoor one. And they've had them like in a church and stuff like that before, and
oh, praise Jesus.
Cool. That one would have been really cool. But so no, that was so good.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Cool.
Yeah. I really wanted to know what you got coming up, actually, but I know you, apart from Shipwreck, but I know you.
Yeah.
Secrecy on that.
Are you playing Explore at all?
No, I'm not. I'm so gutted about that.
That's
I really want to play Explore.
Have you played Explore?
No, I've never played it. And I've got a lot of mates that play there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, every time I always forget to apply for it online. Yeah. So,
have you been to Explore as a punter?
No.
Oh,
and that's the other thing that everyone's like, you have to go just like
favorite.
as a, everyone says it's just so amazing. Yeah. So I definitely want to play that. But yeah, I've got some other stuff in the works, which will be exciting.
Man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Make sure you keep us in the loop. What's going on?
Yeah, definitely will.
Actually, speaking of which, the wellness tracks and that sort of thing, where are you putting those out? Where can you find those?
So everything's on SoundCloud. If because you can't put mixes on Spotify. So all mixes and everything go on to SoundCloud. There's an Understanding Emotions Facebook page, SoundCloud, and Instagram.
Yep.
And then my Instagram's just Kadyn Webster as well. Yeah, which everything gets uploaded there as well. Yeah, because I obviously push both channels. Yeah.
Do you play smaller gigs around town? You go to the Fitzroy once in a while or other places?
Yeah, Ink Bar mainly. Yeah.
You get an ink sound.
Yeah. Ink Bar mainly, and then Whammy. I played Whammy a couple of times. Studio on K Road as well when there's like a bigger one.
Yep. Have you played the Mothership yet?
Yeah, I have actually. I played that last year in October. It's cool.
Cool. Yeah, we were there last Friday.
Was it the Mothership?
What's that?
Was it called the Mothership?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so it wasn't Impala. Yeah, so I played Code before Impala, then Impala, and then now the Mothership. But the Mothership, like the setup, the way they've got it back to the way it was before, like when it was before Impala, like I love that. It's definitely the way to go. I reckon it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We went there a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
It was choice.
Yeah, I hope they do well. I really do. Like, because it's too good of a club to not to not exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really hope they do well.
It was fun. Yeah, Moose T was great there.
Yeah,
he was.
The backstage is banging though.
Yeah,
backstage.
But that's what it's about.
Your toilet is bigger than backstage.
Probably yes. It much is.
Backstage is tiny. Yeah.
Sorry, Andy. It was great though.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's not to say we're not grateful.
Was it busy?
It was pretty busy. Yeah. It was pretty busy.
I think it was busy. And when Moose T started up, it was full, but it was just so late. He didn't get on until like what time? 12?
No, it was later
than that.
Yeah, it was later than that.
Yeah.
It was cool, but they have curtains that sort of close off certain sections of the club, which is a good idea because then it always looks busy.
Yeah.
And they opened one section of the curtain next to the left of the DJ for a bit. So it was good. It was cool, but I'll look forward to future parties there because I think it's got a lot of potential for sure.
It does, and it's so hard at the moment. Like it really is. Everything, just club shows in general are just really struggling. Just clubbing in general is
it's just people's attitudes towards clubbing have changed. Whether it's they're not going out as often as they did, they're being more careful. Financially, it's not viable to go out every week.
It's a hard one.
People are finding it hard to find the money to spend, and bars and stuff have to raise all their prices on booze and that.
Yeah, well, that's it. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, it's $40 in if you're on the shore, or if you're like sort of central or something, like $20 to $40 for an Uber each way. Then you got a ticket. $20 to $40 for a ticket. You've spent $100 before you've even bought a drink in town. And for the younger generation who are at university or something like that, if they're 18 to 24, 25-year-olds, they're not earning a lot of money. No. And to blow it on a Friday night or something like that, and then not have, and then supermarket food, it's just like it's just crazy, and it's just so hard. Like, it's just getting really tough out there unless you're, Explore, Shipwrecked, sort of these bigger festivals. Laneway's another one that always just smashes it out of the park. People seem to be saving their money for festivals rather than doing the smaller, intimate club shows.
You got to pick your battles, though.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the other thing is, without showing my age, like when I used to go out, you never really bought tickets unless it was like a super big event, you know, like thousand of people. So if you're going to go clubbing, and the one thing like New Zealand doesn't seem to have is that kind of regular place that everybody goes every week, and they've always got maybe like an international playing, or they've always got some sort of, you know, reason to go down there. Like back in Brighton, it was the Zap. And it always on a Friday night, it'd always have like certain acts from all over the country or internationals. You'd always go there on a Friday night. You always know what to expect. Yeah. You know, and you'd always know that you could just pay 10 quid on the door. 20 years ago, fair enough. So the prices might have gone on. But my point is that a lot of places ask you to get tickets before, and people don't want to commit. Yeah. You know,
especially in New Zealand. Shit, Kiwis don't commit to nothing.
No way.
Holy shit.
But
yes means no, no means maybe means fucking no chance.
100%. And they'll buy tickets like an hour before the gig, if that, you know, if they do buy tickets. But this is the problem. The problem with that is, last year we saw so many shows get cancelled, festivals, big festivals get cancelled because they put big deposits down on internationals. But when they don't get that pre-sale, like encouragement that the gig is actually going to sell well, they start to shit themselves and go, we've invested all this money in these big internationals, the stage setup, the lighting, security, all the rest of the support lineup, and then they've only sold 20 tickets. And who knows, they might have sold 1,000 in that week leading up to it, but they're not willing to take that risk. And I don't blame them. So that's like the problem with, you know, and I completely understand that, because I was the same. When I was punting, I was like, even now, I'm still like, if there's shows that I'm not playing on, I'm not going to, and that I want to go to, I'm like, I'll get them soon. Yeah. We'll get them next week. We'll get them next week.
I was the same with Fatboy Slim. Yeah. I was like, he announced his things and all the tickets came out, and I was like, nah, sweet ass. What? Sold out? Yeah. Calling some people.
It's crazy. I don't know how you even combat that either. Like, how do you change that mentality in people?
It's hard because, you know, we haven't had internationals over for a while. Look, I'm one that likes to see internationals here. I do, you know, but I do totally get, this is New Zealand. You know, most internationals come over here because they're touring Australia. Yeah. And, you know, promoters, you know, they take a punt on them and bring them over here. But I don't know what the solution is really.
It depends. Yeah, what you're like, where you're at as well at the moment. So I've found that when I say older, I mean sort of like that sort of Logan Baker, Cam Harris, like that, the guys who do bring internationals over, they've definitely taken a step back. Whereas these younger promoters, like that are it's almost a separation of like uptown versus downtown. So like the uptown people, like I've found that the internationals are really slowing down. Downtown are booking all of these younger generational acts, like Mall Grab. There was this DJ who I can't remember his name. Oh, there's like Frankie Wah recently, but that's all sort of like a bit younger than that generation. So a lot of internationals are coming through there, but it's not hitting both demographics, sort of thing. You know, you almost need to find someone who's gonna get everyone there rather than just like it's two separate sort of generations, which is so hard to do as well, you know.
Dance music over here, or electronic music over here, is kind of a generational thing anyway, because a lot of the kids who get into electronic music, they don't follow the path of house music, they don't follow the path of techno, they follow the path of drum and bass, or you know, dubstep or trap or whatever it is. Whereas in Europe, most people will get into like that kind of music. Techno. So already, you know, this country's on a back foot.
100%, which is really, there's certain people, younger generational wise, like 121 in Wellington, they're doing a great job at creating a young culture of dance, like house music, underground, techno. Their festival's amazing in Wellington as well, 121 Festival. But you're so right. I mean, George FM and even probably I don't listen to The Edge or any other stations, but that it's just drum and bass. It's just full force, and it's almost like, because it's become pop. You know, it's not pop, but it's become pop.
It's very vocal, very vocal, right?
Exactly. And very sing along and happy and that's great, amazing. but yeah, there's not much room for the two to exist in the one small country because we're so small.
Yeah. And you do notice when you go to these house and techno events that you're looking at people sort of around sort of 30, 40. When we went to see Underworld a few years back, it was all our generation. Which was incredible, to be fair. It was cool.
I love that.
But everyone's got like you sort of look at each other and go like, during the week you're working, you got kids or whatever, but you used to be a raver when you were in your 20s. Now you're sort of reliving that. It's great. I thought that was amazing. But I mean, it seems to happen all the time. When you do see some of these big acts come over.
Did you guys go to Carl Cox when he was here?
I didn't, not Carl Cox. No.
When was that?
That was
his Pure show, wasn't it? A couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
I played. Yeah, it would have been 2018 and 2019, I think. So I played both those shows, and they were amazing. And like the demographic was like a few young people, but majority were like older. But like, man, he's just such a legend.
He's amazing.
He's just.
When I was during lockdown, I used to watch a lot of those Circle videos, and his one outside that castle in France.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Did you read his autobiography?
Yeah, I've actually got it. Yeah, my partner's given it to me. I've just started it actually.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it is good.
Yeah.
It is good. Yeah,
he's got a race car team. Oh no,
motorbikes.
Yeah.
What the? Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he always goes down to Wanganui and races down there.
He's got a team. He's got a team based here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Christchurch,
He's he's exactly as he looks on stage. He's exactly the same. He's just the most kindest, like nicest soul. He ended up like coming into our green room, my green room when with me and my partner, and we ended up just like having champagne and just yarning for like an hour after a set, and I was like, oh my god, like this is like a dream right now. Like he's just such a good dude, eh? Like
Did I hear right that he's based in Melbourne, no?
Yeah,
I think he spends half the year in Melbourne, and half the year in the UK.
Yeah, because he's still touring a lot, but
60 years old.
It's insane.
They're all getting up there, man. Him, Norman Cook.
Yeah.
Who was that? Who was the dude that tragically passed away recently? Faithless.
Oh yeah.
Maxi Jazz.
He was punching 60 something.
Was he?
So 65.
Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah. And still performing.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Those I don't know how. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how Carl does it, and he still does like 6-hour sets.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's like the Rolling Stones, though, right? Like they're in their 80s. I think if they stopped, they would probably die. Because it's the thing that keeps them going.
100%.
That and cocaine. So that's the thing that keeps them going.
So can you see yourself doing it in 40 years?
Cocaine, probably.
I can see you.
Definitely. I think so. I mean, I love it. Like, and when I'm away from it, I miss it so much, like I've had, there were stints obviously through COVID, and there's been stints even sort of in the last sort of 3 years where like sometimes, the sound isn't right for the shows, which is completely fine as well. And I have stints and I'm like, oh man, like, and then, that email will come through and it's like, oh, you want to book it? And I'm like, yes, like, let's go. I'm ready to do this again. It's funny, cause I've looked after, initially when I was working DJing and stuff, doing like dubstep and all of that, we started getting into booking more house acts and stuff like that, and I was doing a lot of artist liaison work for a company called We Move, and just chatting with the international artists that are touring, like it's a hard life. Like if you're not Carl Cox or somebody who's really, got enough money to be like, if I'm going to this country, I'm staying there. If you're just like, you're just on that level where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to an Australian tour and then like a European tour or something like that. Like they are flying in sometimes at like 9 p.m. Their set's at 12 till 2. And then their flight out is like 6 a.m. And it's like, and they're playing like 6 shows in 6 days sort of thing. So like the damage that does, like on just from not sleeping right, if you're drinking or like, doing
Moose
whatever.
T did that the other day.
I know.
He was up the next day and off to Brisbane.
He was, He didn't. We got to the venue and he hadn't even arrived.
No, he was still on the plane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So he's just sort of turns up, plays very, very professionally. Was happy to give us an interview, and then
that was cool.
He was off.
That's cool. Yeah,
nice guy.
Yeah, he's so many artists now as well that I find that are touring. A lot of them aren't drinking anymore. You know, they're like they went through that patch of going crazy, and then you know they're just like now they're like, okay, come in, have one beer, go home.
Yeah.
Very professional.
Yeah.
I'm living with or Josh Butler's living with me at the moment. He's, I don't know if you guys know him.
Yeah.
He's signed to Defected and like Origins Records.
So he's over here at the moment.
Yeah, mate. He's living with me.
He was over here when we had the first lockdown. He was stuck. Was he stuck here?
No. So initially he was born here and then he moved to the UK.
Okay. Yeah.
And then so his dad lives down the road from me.
Oh, okay.
So he comes back now he's just been coming back over the summer.
Okay.
To come back and just enjoy the sunshine over here and I was talking to him about this touring thing as well, and he was like, yeah, mate, like it's hard graft, you know, sometimes, and it's super lonely because you're just in hotel rooms by yourself. You're going over, you've never met these people, they're picking you up from the airport, they take you to the show. He said the worst is when you're in like Brazil or Argentina and you can't speak a word of you know what they're saying, or like any of these other countries, and they're like, you're just trusting that they're taking you to the right place. You don't even know. So these guys could be just like taking you anywhere. But yeah, it must be pretty hard. I mean, I'd love to give it a good crack because I feel like I feel like that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
But you know, getting to the point where Carl Cox is, I think he probably plays a show and probably does like a week there, you know, in that country, probably books out a bit of time. But for these struggling DJs who are just making it, like you can't afford to do that because that's like you got to get out and play another show to make your money, sort of thing. So, yeah.
Well, I think we better wrap it up there. I think we've crossed the hour. We've gone over an hour now, but mate. Fascinating, inspirational young fella. Young, he's 30 and I'm calling him young. You're right, son. Yeah. We'll get all your details off you and link you into all your little patches around the place and all different social media things underneath. And thank you very much for coming in and good luck.
Yep. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for the chat, boys.
No worries.
No worries.
Sweet.